Thank you very much. Good evening, dear friends. First of all, I would like to thank you all for coming for being on this occasion, and I would like also to thank the organizers of our meeting at Frontline Club and all those who were involved in this case. Before I start talking about my book, I would like to thank those who helped me publish this book. First of all is my dear friend, Arch Tide. Thank you very much. A wonderful translator. He not just only translated my text, but also did initial work necessary for this book to be published. Again, thank you very much. Thank you. And I would like to thank also my publisher, Paul Dekenua, President of Academic Press, for his high level work, quality work. I think who bought this book will agree with me, but I'm not sure you have done it because it wasn't sold in London at all. I don't know why. But anyway, this book exists, and I would like to thank again Paul and my dear friend David Sutter, who introduced me to my publisher, and of course Luke Harding. Luke Harding, who writer and journalist who wrote a preface to my book and praised my work. Thank you very much. But my special gratitude to you for work you did in covering the case of murder of Alexander Litvinenko. Thank you very much in your book, Very Expensive Poison. Now about my book. Firstly, how and when the idea arose to publish this book. Since 2004, Alexander Litvinenko and I, we lived as neighbors, and we talked almost every day. And one morning he came to my place and started to talk me about dream he had is as we were at war, back at war, and he in the brutal battle, and suddenly he heard the rumble of an airplanes. This was Russian aviation. And Sasha described that he was very happy and thought, well, now you Czechs are done. Czechs are what Russians called Chechens that during the First War. And that moment Sasha realized that now he was on the side of Chechens. And this war, on this war, and those bombs from Russian airplanes were going to be dropped on him as well. And that's when he woke up in horror from this nightmare. At the same morning, we had the idea to write a book together. The main idea was to write the same event from different positions. I would write from the Chechen side, he would write from the Russian side, but this idea was not destined to materialize. Unfortunately, Putin got Sasha. And several years after his death, I began to write this book. In the centuries-old history of the confrontation between Russia and Chechnya, there are very few materials written by the Chechens themselves about these events, because all historical documents were deliberately destroyed. And therefore, it was very important for me to describe the events in which I participated and to which I was a witness. When I began to write this book, I was also sure that we should not allow for the future generations to have only one version of recent history, the one written by those who are used to hiding their crimes in a lie. But this does not mean that we should be silent about our shortcomings. In this case, what we write will not have any value. I'm deeply convinced that instructive experience can be learned only from the truth. And if any point my descriptions of our foreign leaders and commanders seem unpleasant to their relatives, they should understand that I had no intention of criticizing people close to them. I was just trying to give a political assessment of events of a historical scale in which these personalities played a huge role. We, the participants and eyewitnesses of these events, have a duty to our successors to convey to them a true description of the war, not hiding our mistakes and miscalculations, but at the same time not letting the enemy insult the memory of our heroes and massive achievements of our nation. And only in this case can we be sure that new generations of Chechens will not become Mankurts that have lost their traditional values of their nation. And this will guarantee the preservation of the Chechen people and therefore guarantee their victory. Because freedom is only needed for people who show high moral values and save the memory of the past. December 11 of last year marks the 25th anniversary of the beginning of the Russian aggression against the Chechen state. At the present time, Chechnya is under Russian occupation, and it's no secret to anyone that over these 25 years, the Russian special services managed to split the Chechen society on a religious basis by dividing the Chechens into good and bad Muslims. And they also managed to split those who stood at the origins of the national liberation movement. That's when doubts began coming to my mind. Maybe all this was in a vain, both our struggle and all these sacrifices. Maybe we have not yet taken our place as a nation. But in this moment, I would recall my comrades in arms, with whom I went through many difficult days and trails, and many of whom are no longer alive. Then I began to think that God extended my days precisely so that I can make sure that memory of these people who had given their lives for the freedom of the Chechen people was not finally betrayed. Chechens have had such a fate that the life of each generation is marked by tragedy. From history we see previous centuries were spent by Chechens in war, defending their freedom. But the tragedy of our entire history lies in the fact that each generation of Chechens who survived their tragedy at the end of their lives witnessed a new tragedy caused by the Russian state against our people. So the generation of my parents who survived the deportation to Siberia and Central Asia had to live through two wars in the later years of their lives. And now my generation has to live with the recollection of these wars and pray to God that the liberation of Chechens from the Russian Empire would interrupt this chain of tragedies. I also want to say a few words about the attitude of the international community towards the Chechen tragedy. Abdurrahman of Turkhanov was a former Soviet dissident and Chechen politician who moved to the Western world in 1943 until his unfortunate days in 1997. By reading his works, you are convinced that the attitude of European politicians towards the long Chechen tragedy has not changed at all during this time, although it would seem that they had the opportunity to carefully study our problem. However, the Western politicians they did not understand the Chechens or 100 or 200 years ago still do not understand us now. Or maybe they just don't want to understand, because going deep into the tragedy expressing by a whole nation for such long time enforces on people with moral qualities and application of sympathy and support. And for many, this requirement is imposed not only by morals, but also by professional on duty. I would like to bring up another shared view, which comes from former Soviet dissident, Russian writer and historian Igor Bunich, who wrote, "By the scale of the persecution, by the methods of genocide, from mass extermination and deportation to despicable discrimination of the entire nation as criminals, the fate of the Chechens can only be compared with the fate of the Jewish of Nazi Germany. But if the Jewish managed to put the matter in the 1,000-year struggle for survival, so that the whole world reacts painfully and sharply to any manifestation of anti-Semitism wherever it comes from, the Chechens have not succeeded to do it so far." It's no secret that leaders of Western countries have always maintained close relations with the despotic regimes that ruled in Russia. And on the Chechen issue, they reached cynicism labeling the murder of nation as an entire internal affair of the Russian state. Various human rights organizations have reported that in the last 25 years in the Chechen Republic, 250,000 Chechen civilians have been killed by the Russian military and secret services, with more than 40,000 of them children. Dozens of thousands have also been wounded or disabled, and hundreds of thousands of people were left on the streets. 80% of our capital city, Grozny, was destroyed, and dozens of villages were completely destroyed. 26,000 young Chechens were kept in Russian prisons just for their nationality and potential resistance against the Russian military for their own freedom. More than 500,000 Chechens were forced to run and seek political asylum around the world to save their children and families from the violent threat of death from the Russian military. And those who remained are under such oppression and humiliation that people, in order to maintain their honor and dignity, are forced to run from Chechnya. Yes, today in Grozny, civilians are not bombed and mass ethnic cleansings are not carried out in villages. But as a Chechen, I can assure you that that is going on in Chechnya today is a spiritual genocide. Putin initially needed Ramzan Kadyrov not only to silence, defend Chechens, but also to create power structures with elements of Eastern despotism. Putin knew that if this experience was successful in Chechnya, where there was never servility and groveling before those in power, then in Russia, where such a conduct before the high authorities was a deeply rooted tradition and where a strong hand was always needed to rule, this experience will find its application without much effort. Putin also calculated that for the past 60 years, Western leaders have supported authoritarian regimes in the East because of economic benefits. That is because these regimes have ensured the uninterrupted flow of energy resources. And Russia, with its enormous resource of energy resources that is supplied to the West and big number of nuclear weapons that it could threaten the West with, Putin knew that it could count on the West support in Chechen issue. We warned the international community that Putin will not stop in the Chechnya. But is that another topic I will not get into. No, now everyone knows who is Mr. Putin. I'm deeply convinced that economic interests of certain countries or political interests of certain politicians should not be more important than fate of entire nation. Chechen nation, in fact, for several centuries, the Russian state has been subjecting the Chechen people to systematic genocide. My friend, this is not only my conclusion. For example, in the year 2000, Parliament Assembly Council of Europe adopted Resolution 1456, which strongly recommended to international community to start an independent investigation of war crimes which committed in the Chechen Republic. But this investigation never happened. In 2004, European Union recognized the deportation of Chechens and Ingush in 1944 to Siberia and Central Asia as an act of genocide, but nothing was done further than that. In order to change the attitude of international community to Chechen problem, I believe it is necessary to convey to the Western public the truth about historical problem of relations between Russia and Chechnya. Therefore, it was very, very important for me that this book was published here in English. And therefore, it was very important to me to speak about it, maybe 12 minutes.
It's
Thank
fine.
you very much.
Okay.
Thank you all of who was involved in this case. Arch, Luke, David, Paul, Masha, everybody. Thank you very much. And thank you for your attention. Thank you.
So Ahmed, thank you very much.